Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Andrea Rinkus. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you. Everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
And whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Even better, all of our guests are local small business owners who you can actually talk to and work with. You can learn more about today's guest and connect with hundreds of other health and wellness professionals through our informative and easy-to-use directory at motherhoodalliance.com.
Before we get started, keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for personal healthcare advice. Please consult your healthcare provider before making any changes based on the podcast content.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Are you ready to help your family thrive? Let's get started. Hi, we are Britt and Drea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome you to a 4-episode series with Dr. Maycee Sturino, a local chiropractor who specializes in the Gonstead Technique. She and her husband, Dr. Alex Sturino, own and run Genesis Chiropractic in Appleton, and they are extremely passionate about helping families take a proactive approach to their health rather than a reactive one. Since becoming a mom herself in 2024, Dr. Maycee has developed a strong love for the birth world and especially loves caring for mamas and their kiddos. Beyond her work, Maycee loves working out, traveling, and discovering local coffee shops with her family. We are excited to have her here to not only discuss how chiropractic can benefit moms and kids, but also to dive into what makes the Gonstead technique unique, tech neck, and the effects screens are having on our spines, and more. So let's jump into today's conversation with Dr. Maycee. Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. We are so excited to introduce you to Dr. Maycee. Welcome, Dr. Maycee.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And as all of our listeners know, we always like to start a new series with a new guest with your fun fact. And you shared with us that you were a 2-sport athlete in college and that you hold multiple powerlifting state records in Florida, which is really cool. So tell us about that.
So I grew up my whole life playing sports. All different kinds of sports, soccer, softball, basketball, kind of everything. I played flag football as a kid, and I thought that was really fun. So then that transitioned into high school when I got really serious about sports, and I kind of sat down with my dad, and I'm like, you know what? I think I kind of want to take it to the next level, play at the collegiate level. So initially I was kind of wanting to play college basketball. I was getting recruited by multiple colleges. Ended up choosing to go to UW Parkside. They gave me the opportunity to actually play basketball and soccer on campus. So It was wild. It was a lot, but it was one of the best experiences. That's actually where I met my husband, Dr. Alex. We practice together now. And he's actually the reason that I ended up getting into powerlifting during, I think, senior year of college, undergrad. Started kind of getting into it. And then when we moved down to Florida together for chiropractic school is when we really started like getting serious about it. And then I did multiple competitions in Florida. So yeah, it was really fun.
Oh. So do you like periodically check to see if your records are still holding?
I have not. I don't want to.
We'll just leave it right where it
let
was.
the glory stay in.
I'll just leave those memories as I just keep telling myself that I still hold the record. So it's okay.
That's fun. And did he do competitions too?
He did one, but he was more about like he enjoyed like kind of like coaching me rather than competing himself. And then we had a garage gym in Florida, so that was really nice because the weather's so nice. So we would power lift out there, and it was really fun. Yeah.
Wow, what a fun memory.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and what a great way to like start out your marriage too, of just like having this combined goal and working together and you know, being teammates in that way.
Yeah, it was really fun.
So let's start out with your story as well. You kind of alluded to a little bit of it there, but what got you interested in chiropractic care from the very beginning?
Sure. So I have been seeing a chiropractor for as long as I can remember, ever since I was a little kid. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a quote unquote crunchy household. Even back then, my parents were very holistic minded. So it was, let's go to the chiropractor if you're feeling ill or something hurts or something like that. So ever since I can remember, I've been going to the chiropractor. It really helped me multiple times during high school sports when I was having rib pain and stuff like that. I didn't go to undergrad knowing I wanted to be a chiropractor. I went into like kind of the pre-med field. I didn't know if I wanted to do nursing, medical school. I had no idea. So I didn't kind of figure that out until junior year when my mom randomly one day was just like, what about chiropractic? Like, you've been going to a chiropractor for years. And I was like, okay. So I kind of just like looked deeper into what chiropractic was, and I really resonated with it because it's about holistic healing and letting the body heal itself, which I kind of turned to rather than, more of like the regular medical route. So that's kind of how I ended up choosing that. I don't have a big like story as to why I chose it. It was just kind of, it happened, and I think it was just God's plan for me kind of thing.
I feel like that when we've talked to chiropractors on the podcast before, this is kind of what we heard. Like, it's just what it makes sense with what their lifestyle is. And it kind of just chose
aligned.
You.
Pretty much.
Now, there are different types of chiropractic styles, and I know you do the Gonstead technique, but I think most of our listeners, including me, are going to be like, what is that? And what makes it different from other techniques? So would you be able to kind of walk us through some of the main techniques and then why you chose Gonstead?
Sure. There's a lot of different techniques. So a main one at Palmer, which is where I went to chiropractic school, is just diversified, which is just your typical adjusting that you would probably see online or what most chiropractors do. At Palmer, it's called the Palmer package. So it's kind of like a package of different techniques that most people end up doing. There's also other techniques like the activator. Most people call it like the little clicker tool. So it's not actually adjusting with your hands. It's with a tool. Another one would be like an upper cervical technique where they're really just looking at the upper cervical spine, your atlas, occiput, and how that's all working up there and functioning. So we chose the Gonstead technique, my husband and I, just because it really resonated with us in its specificity and its precision. So we do a 5-step analysis on every patient at every visit. Not only is it a specific way of adjusting, but it's also specific in the way that we look at a patient's neurology. So really looking at the root cause of what may be causing their back pain, constipation, headaches, so on and so forth.
So walk us through that technique. It's 5 different steps. And I think key thing you just said is that you do this at every visit?
Yes. Okay. So all of our visits are really specific and individual to each patient. So the 5-step protocol that we do is we're taking a patient history. So not only at the initial exam, we want to learn about them, but at every visit, I want to know how they responded after the last adjustment, how they may have felt different, better, worse, no change. See if their symptoms are improving or kind of what changed overall. The next step that we're doing is visualization. So Gonstead's a skin-on-skin technique. So for the most part, males in our office just take their shirt off. For women, we actually have them wear a gown. So they take their shirt and bra off, and they have a gown that's open to the back so that we can see the skin on their back. We look at the overall curvature of their spine through their skin. We look at maybe different blemishes that they have. Maybe they have a pimple in this certain area, and that's telling me, hey, maybe we need to look here. Something's going on. Obviously, that's causing this acne scar or pimple or something like that. We're also doing thermography at every single visit. So we use what's called a delta T or a nervoscope. I usually just call it the scope because people don't really understand it. Basically what I tell people is it's a temperature reading device. So there's a probe on each side of the spine. We roll it up the patient's spine at every visit, and it's telling us temperature differences on both sides of the spine. So when we get a sharp deflection of the needle that's in the meter, it's telling us, hey, we need to look here specifically because something is going on.
So that's basically showing inflammation when it's red. Is that kind of what it's alluding to?
So the scans that you're talking about, like the CLA scans, we do those on the initial visit that have like the colored bars. With the nervoscope or the delta T that we're doing on every visit is basically just a meter and a needle swings back and forth, telling us which side is hotter. So what we're looking for is a sharp deflection of the needle over one segment. So the other scans are kind of like regional, like, hey, there's excess heat in their low back. But this one is actually telling us at exactly which level, because heat is a byproduct of inflammation. So when there's inflammation, it's telling me, hey, something's going on here and we need to look deeper into it.
And then do you typically see that corresponding with aches or pains people are feeling? I mean, I'm assuming so, where somebody comes in and they're like, oh, how's it going? What's new? What have you been feeling lately? Oh, my SI joint on my left side has been bothering me, and I have a little bit of right shoulder like tension. And then so when you do this, you're actually seeing that needle reflect what their symptoms that they're feeling.
And sometimes they don't even know that they're having symptoms in that area. I actually had a patient just this week, and after I adjusted her, she's like, you know what? When I walked in here, I didn't think I had any back pain. I was feeling good, but now I feel even better. My husband actually has a testimonial where he was seeing a patient and he asked her, he was like, hey, are you starting your menstrual cycle soon? And she was like, what, are you a wizard? Like, how did you know that? And he found a segment on her that wasn't typical for her. And it correlates with the nerves that supply the reproductive organs. So she was like, yeah, I'm supposed to get my period in like 2 days. How did you know that? And he was like, the nervous system doesn't lie.
Wow.
So that's kind of about the scope and thermography. Another step that we're doing is palpation. So palpation is just a fancy term for feeling. We want to feel your spine. So we feel kind of around the areas of your spine where there may be swelling. This is called static palpation, where we're not moving the patient. We're just kind of feeling different areas. Is it hotter on one side? Is it colder on one side to the touch? Is there swelling? Are they sweating in one certain area? And then we're doing motion palpation too. So we're feeling the bones in their back. We're taking them through different ranges of motion to feel exactly how that bone is restricted and to see how exactly we may need to adjust it. So that's kind of the palpation side of things. And then x-rays. So we're not x-raying every patient in our office because pregnant women, we're not x-raying them. Infants, we're not x-raying them. But most people, we take x-rays on, and we tell people it's because it's kind of the blueprint. So your spine looks different than everyone else's spine. We actually see a lot of patients in our office with an extra bone in their back. Some people are quote unquote missing a bone in their back. So a typical spine has 33 vertebrae. Some people have an extra bone. Some people have 32 or whatever it may be. Some people have an extra rib. Some people only have 11 sets of ribs. So you kind of realize that normal is not really normal.
I did not realize that. I mean, I did not realize that there would be people sometimes missing or having more extra bones and ribs and things.
Is that genetic then?
Really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of how everybody was made. Everybody's different. It's not, I always tell patients, it's not like a good thing or a bad thing. It's just, it's unique to you. It's how you were made. So you have 5 lumbar vertebrae typically, which is your low back. We see a lot of L6s in our office. I don't know if it's just our office. I have no idea.
It must be something in the water in Wisconsin.
Something. I don't know.
We're over on that side of town.
I don't know, but it is pretty crazy. And then we just want to see like the overall like curvatures, what their spine is looking like. Are their curves good? Do they have a straight neck? Do they have too much curve, too little curve? And then x-rays also give us a glimpse into how we may need to adjust. So maybe we can see based off their x-rays a different table will work better for them when we adjust them, or a different angle. You know, we're really specific about what angle and vectors we're taking when we adjust patients. So
do you do the x-rays every time?
No.
Okay, that's not every time.
No, x-rays will be on the initial visit, and then sometimes we'll take them more frequently if, like, let's say a patient gets in a car accident. Obviously, we're going to take them to make sure they didn't fracture anything or nothing major is going wrong. But then we'll also take them at progress exams, kind of depending on when we feel that patient may need a progress exam. Maybe symptoms are changing. Maybe they're all of a sudden feeling way better. And we're going to do progress exams. So we're going to do those initial scans again and then their x-rays again and kind of see what's improving, what's changing, how they're adapting.
So the Gonstead difference is really kind of how you approach the patient and looking at them individually at every single appointment.
Yes.
Okay. But then your actual adjusting technique, is that different at all? Or are you using similar tools to what most, chiropractors, no matter what their style is?
Yeah. So I would say the adjusting is a little bit different, but maybe to someone who doesn't understand chiropractic, it would look like any other chiropractic adjustment. One of the big things that we have is a different set of tables in our office. So a lot of chiropractic offices will just have one table. We use different tables. So we adjust people's cervical spine or necks actually in a chair, where most chiropractors will put you kind of like laying on your back. We have another table. It's called the knee chest table. It allows for the belly to kind of drop and the ribs to not be compressed on a table, because that's not comfortable for anyone. And then for pregnant moms too, their belly isn't being pushed into the table. So that's huge. And then I have another table. It kind of is electrical or mechanical, and it goes up and down. So that's good for maybe older adults that can't actually crawl down onto a table. They can just stand on it, and then we'll lower the table and then bring it back up.
Well, it's also helpful here for your back too. You got to protect yourself.
Yeah. It's a physical job for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then now you were a mom.
Yes.
You had your little kiddo in 2024, right?
August.
So a new mom. And I know that you really love to specialize in moms and kids. So when did that interest start? Was it before you became a mom? Is it really more recent?
So it was probably about halfway through chiropractic school. Initially, when I went to chiropractic school, I kind of wanted to be like a sports chiropractor, maybe for like a team or really take care of athletes, that kind of stuff. As I got more introduced into the Gonstead technique and the Gonstead method, I really saw how this technique is for every population. And then just having different classes on like pediatric adjusting and prenatal stuff throughout school really kind of made me more interested in taking care of like moms and kids and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I love when you have a specialty for chiropractors, because then you can really hone in and like, you know, pursue extra certifications and like really just love on that population.
Right.
What is your philosophy on, and this probably isn't a question specifically to pregnancy and postpartum, because I know that's kind of a season of life that's unique, but for general wellness, what is your philosophy on how often people should be coming in for a chiropractic visit?
So we get that question a lot in our office, and I straight up tell people, I don't know, because you're so individual. Everyone is so different. So my husband, for example, Dr. Alex, likes to get adjusted once a week because he has compression fractures in his back from serving in the Army. So it looks a little bit different based on everybody. So we have like elderly people that want to come in more often just because they feel better coming in more often. They have more degeneration, so they kind of need it more than someone else who may have a healthier looking spine. I would say typically most adults in our office come every 2 weeks to every 4 weeks when they're at that maintenance level of care. Kids, sometimes we can push out a little bit further, but it really depends on the kid too. So if they're in football or karate or they're super active and stuff like that, we may want to see them a little bit sooner than that 4 to 6 week mark. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And you mentioned Alex having a little bit of a history there, but I've heard you say that he has a testimonial about chiropractic specifically. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So during our first and second quarter at chiropractic school, so really the first 6 months, we were kind of exploring different techniques, going to different students in the clinic, seeing different professors who would adjust us and stuff like that. And we weren't really like seeing the results at first. We were like, okay, I feel good for like 5-10 minutes. But then when I get home, I kind of just, like the pain comes back or whatever I was experiencing comes back. So fun fact, we were actually on the verge of possibly dropping out of chiropractic school.
Wow.
We were almost like, does chiropractic work?
Yeah. Is it just in the head? Like, is it just this voodoo thing?
Yeah. And then my husband, Alex, actually ended up going to one of our other professors that specialized in upper cervical technique called the Gonstead Technique. And he got adjusted by him. It's a super gentle technique. He has you lay on your side. He basically just held pressure. You didn't hear a big pop, nothing like that. And he was like, okay, now you're going to lay there for 5 minutes after your adjustment. And Alex was kind of like, okay, what, dude? Like, I didn't hear a pop, a crack, nothing. Like, you did not do anything. So after laying there for 5 minutes, he gets up and he said he just like feels like a rush, like a head rush. He was like getting hot and he was like, okay, well, something changed.
Yeah.
So the big takeaway from that was before he got that adjustment, he struggled with drinking milk and like dairy products. So being from Wisconsin, that's not fun. And then after that adjustment, like the day after, I was drinking coffee and had milk in my coffee, and He had a little bit of my coffee, fully expecting he'd have to go to the bathroom later because there was milk in it. And he didn't. So that day, he goes to the grocery store and buys a half gallon of milk and drinks the whole thing.
I thought you were going to say ice cream there for sure.
Oh my gosh.
That would have probably been tastier.
A half gallon of milk?
And he drank the whole thing that day and made himself a little science experiment, and nothing happened. He didn't have to go to the bathroom really bad after that. No like weird stomach pain symptoms that he usually had with drinking like dairy products. So we were like, whoa.
Was that is he cured, or was that did he have
has
to
no
keep
problems with?
Wow.
No.
That is bizarre.
It's wild.
So did he ask the professor, hey, why do you think this happened?
Yes, but the professor really was just like the power that made the body heals the body.
I mean, I guess that's what you guys always say, right?
Yeah, I mean, if anything is off in your nervous system that needs a little bit of love, then, I mean, it's going to help. So, yeah, it was wild, very wild. So that's when we were kind of like, all right, so this chiropractic thing does work. Like, let's go.
Wow, that is a crazy story. I mean, I know you had mentioned oh yeah, Alex has an interesting testimonial. I was not expecting a story like that.
Yeah, I was like, milk? Where's this coming from?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So you just never know what benefits you're going to find from a routine chiropractic.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not about just pain.
No.
Yeah. Well, and we are going to talk about that in its own episode too, where it is more than just back pain. I mean, there's so many things that chiropractic can help with inside your body as well. But before we jump into another episode, I do want to mention for our listeners that they are offering $50 off an initial exam for anyone who mentions this podcast. So if you decide to go see Dr. Maycee, make sure that you mention this and you'll be able to take advantage of that. How would they contact you? What's the best way?
So we're on Instagram and Facebook. Our Instagram handle is genesis.chiropractic. On Facebook, it's just Genesis Chiropractic. From there, you can go to our website. We have a request appointment button. You can kind of type in there hey, I heard about you through the podcast, or you can just tell us in person. Our phone number is also on our website. So really whatever is convenient.
And what is your website?
GenesisChiroWI.com.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, we are going to be coming back with some really interesting episodes. We're going to be talking about tech neck and how screens are really reshaping our spine. I think that'll be applicable to literally everybody. Like I said, we'll be talking about how chiropractic does so much more than help with just back pain, which is a kind of a stigma. And we kind of want to help you guys break that myth apart, as well as we're going to have a full episode dedicated to pregnant mamas and their kids, because that's the population that Maycee really loves to serve and specializes in. So of course we have to talk about that as well. So stay tuned for our next one coming up. If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.